Hello, my name is Christina Stovall, and this is my sociological self-portrait. Who am I through the lens of sociology? Utilizing my sociological imagination, which is an awareness or understanding of how my past experiences and culture have helped shape me and my choices and perceptions. I would like to describe myself as mixed heritage, Caucasian female who grew up in a middle class home with two loving parents and no negative outside elements or forces. My parents instilled the importance of morals and values. My ascribed status now would be middle aged female, daughter, and sister. My achieved status is mother, correctional program director, and college student. My culture was instilled by my parents, who had high moral values, beliefs, and practices. My mother was born in South America, Brazil, and my father was born in the United States. Together, they built a family in a small community that encompasses people who share the same moral values and belief systems. In my mother's culture, people are warm and inviting. Every day is a celebration of life. The people have very little in the way of money and stuff, but they are vastly wealthy in spirit and love for all people. Everyone is welcome and everyone is family. There are no strangers in this culture. This belief system made me more welcoming of people than I could ever describe. I was never taught that there were caste differences between people. I was naive and believed that we were all created equally, and somehow we all lived in these harmonious pockets of society. It may have been that way in my culture, and I think it defined me as I grew up. I celebrated everything and everyone. I am severely empathetic to everyone, those emotions so much that it causes me to fight for them and with them. It can be overwhelming to consider everyone an extension of yourself and your family. My agents of socialization definitely help to shape who I am and how I see this world. My family, the one I was born into and the one I created, are the center of my universe. My parents raised me to be respectful of others. I expect the same from my children. My parents taught me the importance of having morals and adopting a belief system. I follow society's rules and guidelines. I try to instill those same values in my children. My father especially shaped me into being a hard worker, and he showed me the value in character and how to excel in the workplace. My peers growing up were made up of the kids who look like me. I grew up in such a small town that I didn't realize until I was much older that there were people who didn't look like or behave like me. My peers were kind. They all came from middle class or wealthy families. They all valued the rules that were set forth by our parents and society. I was fortunate to never be in a situation where peer pressure would shape me into becoming someone I didn't want to be. I have always been the appointed social group leader within my peer structures. I am headstrong and outgoing. I have a tendency of collecting people. My peers were so important to me growing up that as an adult, I still have the same group of friends that I did as a child. School and education shaped my social mobility. I went to private school and a high rated educational institution. I didn't suffer from low budget education, and I was afforded every opportunity to excel. I played a lot of sports and instilled a competitive nature that I have carried with me into my workplace. My workplace is where the cultural differences really became apparent in my life, within me. As an adult, I now see how those differences in culture shape me. I am so thankful. I am not the same wide eyed young girl that grew up in a sheltered existence. I see people, I see our differences, I see the realities of the world. I have fought prejudice because of my gender. I've pushed myself to excel in this career. This career has changed me in some ways. The workplace has made me tougher than I ever imagined. Religion has kept me grounded, has always been my safe place of refuge and understanding. If it weren't for religion, I would have lost myself after the death of my husband. Mass media is a detriment to my well being and the well being of society. I am forced fed norms that don't with my belief systems. I am taught that I somehow should be ashamed of my privilege. I don't like that I am supposed to apologize for being born into a loving family or being afforded opportunities to succeed. I don't believe that my culture somehow defines me as a bad person the way that the media would like me to believe. Cooley describes groups as primary and secondary groups that serve expressive and instrumental functions. The primary groups that display the most critical role in describing my life is family. My father, my mother, my in laws, and my children. They shape who I am and who I aspire to be. They they have the biggest impact on my socialization. Together, we form our identities, cultures, morals, values, religious beliefs, and all the cultural rules that govern my life. My parents taught me that my character is what is most important, who I am when no one is looking, what I give back to this world, and what I take from it. Groups are my coworkers, friends, and classmates. Together, we have a set goal. At work, we work together to achieve the goals set out by our employer. I am a hard worker. My father showed me that what it was to work hard and what it meant to carry myself with value and integrity. I believe that I add value and integrity in my work. I give my all to my responsibilities and I don't rely on others to do the work for me. I carry my own weight and the weight of others. I am often recognized for my efforts. I was awarded Program Director of the Year through the Indiana Criminal Justice Association in October of 2021. I place a lot of value on doing the right thing, but also for being recognized for these efforts. Again, I think this is a big example of Cooley's hard, not to just make myself proud, but to be seen as valuable to others. Deviance and social control. I display many deviant behaviors almost every single day. Every time I walk through the gates of the prison, I enter a whole new world of what society considers to be deviant behaviors. First, I am female. Females are not supposed to work in a male prison. We are not supposed to be tough or strong willed. We are not considered equal to our male counterparts. These behaviors are considered deviant by some. I am supposed to be submissive. I am not. People are threatened by my abilities. I could never understand why someone would be threatened by another person's work ethic or abilities, but it happens. I am aggressive in behaviors that are okay for men to display. The inequalities are disparaging. Members of this society have ascribed my behavior as deviant. My behaviors are not deviant, but my behaviors are not deviant, but their reaction to these behaviors make them deviant. I am assertive in my actions, language, and demeanor. I am not rude or threatening. I am not malicious or hurtful. I carry myself with authority, integrity, and respect. This is a violation of the norms of this society. My primary deviance was to be outgoing, helpful, and friendly. These behaviors are mostly accepted by society. These primary characteristics are not supposed to be deviant in nature, but in my world, they are. Social mobility. I believe that where I was born affected my social mobility greatly. I was not afraid to go to school. We did not have violence in the classroom or in the neighborhood. We were free to be kids, to thrive in our environment. And I think growing up the way that I did was a blessing that I do not take for granted. I understand that a lot of kids did not have the opportunities that I had simply because they were born in a different town. I am projected to have a better opportunity to make it up the income distribution because I was born in white America. There are five predicators of social mobility. Predicators of social mobility: segregation, income equality, quality of public schools, the strength of social networks, and a fraction of single parents. I was segregated in a higher income neighborhood with lower crime rates, making my quality of life better than most. I did not suffer from income inequality and do not currently suffer as an adult. I have maintained my social tier. Needed to expand my education by allowing me the opportunity to attend college right out of high school and again in adulthood. The social networks around me also played a factor in my success. I had pro social relationships that supported growth and stability. I was fortunate enough to grow up with both parents. My race and ethnic identity. Most people in my world look at the color of someone's skin to determine race. Growing up in the United States, it seems like there are only three races that people focus on: Black, white, and Hispanic. Two of these three are colors. We judge people by the color of their skin. I tend to see race the same way as our book describes it: superficial physical differences. The discussion of race is such a hot topic of conflict that it pains me to even have an opinion on it. Nothing I say matters because when people see me, they see a white girl and white privilege. When I look in the mirror, I don't see my complexion as what defines my race. I grew up in a multicultural family. My mother is Brazilian and my father is Caucasian American. My mother's complexion is several shades darker than mine, and my father is as fair skinned as a person can get. My mother's native language is Portuguese, and my father is English. I was born in America, but I had dual citizenship as a child. I loved my Brazilian heritage and culture. Growing up, I saw myself as a Brazilian. English was my first language, but growing up in a home where Portuguese was spoken daily, I was able to pick up on the language and knew enough to understand when I was spoken to and to speak enough to be understood. When I fill out job applications, I get agitated. Most of the boxes do not apply. Myself just Caucasian. I am not a Pacific Islander, and I certainly do not believe that I am African American, Native American, or Hispanic. So who am I? What am I? I'm confused. I tend to check the other box when given the option. When there is not an option of other, I roll with the Hispanic I roll with Hispanic because I refuse to be just Caucasian. I'm not ashamed to be Caucasian, but I feel like that does not represent who I am and how I view myself or the culture I grew up in. I always felt like I had to justify who I thought I was based on how I look. As an adult, people scrutinized my features. They think Brazilians are supposed to be beautiful with nice bodies. That's such a disparaging blow to my identity that it causes me to feel ashamed of my heritage and resenting myself for not looking like an average Brazilian woman. I'm jealous of my cousins who are not multiracial. I'm jealous that they look like Brazilians and I do not. And that's sad. And that would never have happened to me had someone not pointed it out so viciously. Noticing other people based on their race really isn't a thing for me as a child. I grew up so sheltered from the real world that I had no idea that all of these divides existed. Remember, I have always been excited to be different. I wanted to embrace my culture and everyone else's. I had no idea as a child that race was the force of so much contention. This was my white privilege. I grew up in an area where there was no clearly defined races. Everyone was white, and I just did not know any better. I believe that I am lucky. I am lucky that everyone in my family is of different complexion. I have uncles that could pass for African Americans and cousins that look Brazilian, Hispanic, and Caucasian. My father is your all American white man. My mother is a Brazilian beauty, and I am a mix of cultures, which makes me love all people of all cultures and all skin tones. I see people for who they are, not what they look like. I think that growing up and believing that being different is amazing helps me be able to celebrate other people for their differences. I wouldn't want to be segregated for being a Brazilian, and I don't think it's fair to segregate people for being Black, white, Hispanic, Muslim, Asian, or Native American. I celebrate my culture and I celebrate other people's culture. I am lucky to work in an extremely diverse environment where diversity and inclusion are vital in making the department excel. I am lucky that as an adult, I am no longer sheltered or ignorant to the social constructs of race. In closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to really see myself through the lens of the sociological imagination. I hope I was able to convey the important topics in the way that shows who I am through the lens of sociology. Thank you.